There's a peculiar silence that settles in a room when someone believes they are the only real person in it. Everyone else becomes furniture, props, extensions of a singular will that recognizes no boundary between self and world. This is where we begin with Adolf Hitler, not with dates or battles or political movements, but with a mind that could only perceive reality through the lens of its own reflection. He saw mirrors everywhere, in crowds, in nations, in history itself. And when the reflection didn't match what he expected to see, he didn't question the mirror. He tried to reshape the world.
The most dangerous minds are not those that break from reality completely. They're the ones that build alternative realities so compelling, so internally consistent that millions choose to live inside them. Hitler's psychology wasn't chaos, it was architecture. Rigid, geometric, every piece fitted to support a structure that could only stand if you never looked at its foundation. He thought in absolutes the way others breathe, pure and impure, strong and weak, destiny and decay. No gradient existed in his mental palette, only sharp lines dividing the world into categories that served a single purpose: to confirm what he already believed he knew. This binary thinking wasn't just philosophy, it was survival. Complexity threatened him the way open spaces threaten an agoraphobic. Every nuance, every exception, every individual story that didn't fit his grand narrative was experienced as physical pain. So, he simplified, brutally, obsessively. Watch how he spoke. Never just words, but incantations. He would repeat phrases until they became rhythm, rhythm until it became hypnosis. The repetition wasn't for his audience, it was for him. Each recitation strengthened the walls of his constructed reality. Each applause proved the world was finally bending to match his internal map.
But here's what's truly unsettling. He needed enemies more than he needed allies. The architecture of his mind required load-bearing hatreds. Remove them, and everything collapsed. So he cultivated paranoia like a gardener, carefully tending fears that would justify any action, validate any cruelty. The enemies in his mind were never defeated, because defeating them would mean confronting the void they were built to cover. He spoke of strength constantly because he could feel his own foundations shifting. The louder the proclamation of power, the deeper the terror of powerlessness. Every rally, every speech, every gesture of control was a ritual against dissolution. He wasn't trying to convince others. He was trying to convince himself. There's a specific kind of numbness that develops when someone lives entirely in abstractions. People become statistics, suffering becomes logistics. Hitler exhibited this detachment, but with a peculiar edge. He wasn't emotionally absent, he was emotionally inverted. What should provoke empathy provoked disgust. What should inspire humility inspired rage. He could weep at Wagner, but feel nothing at human destruction. This wasn't simple cruelty, it was a fundamental rewiring where aesthetic beauty and human worth occupied completely different categories in his mind. Art was sacred, people were material. This split created a psychological refuge. When reality pressed too close, when the consequences of his actions threatened to penetrate his consciousness, he would retreat into fantasy. Grand architectural plans, artistic visions, future histories where he was the protagonist of humanity's greatest story. The present was always just a draft of the myth he was writing about himself. Control manifested in his body before it manifested in his politics. The vegetarianism, the abstinence from alcohol, the rigid daily routines, these weren't health choices. They were sovereignty claims over the one territory he could absolutely rule, himself. Every dietary restriction was a small proof that will could overcome nature. Every maintained habit was evidence that order could be imposed on chaos. But bodies rebel. His did constantly. The tremors, the digestive issues, the chronic insomnia, his physical form fought against the rigid control he imposed. So, he controlled harder. More restrictions, more routines, more medications to force his body into compliance. The pattern that would define his political life was first rehearsed in his relationship with his own physiology. He never learned the difference between control and connection. People who cannot connect must control. It's the only form of relationship available to them. The language he used revealed the operating system of his mind. He didn't speak of killing, he spoke of cleansing. Not of war, but of struggle. Not of hatred, but of love for the Volk. Every destructive impulse was linguistically transformed into something pure, necessary, even noble. This wasn't propaganda technique, this was psychological survival. He needed to be the hero of his own story so desperately that he rewrote the dictionary in his mind. Words meant what he needed them to mean. Reality was what he declared it to be. But maintaining this alternate reality required constant energy. Like someone trying to hold their breath indefinitely, the strain showed. The explosive rages when contradicted, the inability to tolerate any advisor who wouldn't reflect his worldview back to him, the increasing isolation as the war turned. He couldn't afford to let reality in. It would have killed him faster than any bullet. There were cracks. There are always cracks. In the final months, witnesses described moments of sudden vacancy. Mid-sentence, mid-gesture, he would simply stop, as if the performance suddenly exhausted him, as if he briefly forgot his lines in the grand play he had written for himself. These moments terrified those around him more than his rages. Rage was part of the performance. Silence was the void beneath it. He would recover quickly, resume the role, but those who saw these lapses never forgot them. They had glimpsed something that shouldn't exist. Hitler without Hitler. The construction without the constructor. The mask aware it was a mask. In the bunker, as reality finally broke through every defense, his psychology revealed its final form. Not acceptance, but acceleration. If the world wouldn't conform to his vision, then the world should end. The scorched earth orders weren't military strategy, they were the ultimate expression of a mind that could only conceive of existence on its own terms. He couldn't imagine Germany without him, because he couldn't imagine himself without the reflection Germany had become. They were the same thing in his psychology. When he died, everything should die. This wasn't despair, it was the logical conclusion of a worldview that never distinguished between self and other, between internal reality and external world. The most unsettling truth about Hitler's psychology isn't its uniqueness, it's its familiarity. The mechanisms aren't alien. Binary thinking, projection, paranoia, the need for enemies, the confusion of control with strength. These patterns exist on a spectrum we all occupy. What made Hitler wasn't the presence of these patterns, but their totality, their mutual reinforcement, their complete insulation from correction. He built a psychological fortress so complete that he could only leave it through destruction, his own and the world's. The mind that cannot doubt itself becomes capable of anything, not because it's strong, but because it's terrified of discovering how weak it really is. Every atrocity was an argument against his own emptiness. Every grand gesture, proof against the suspicion that behind all the noise and fury, there was nothing at all. He died believing his own mythology. The final victory of his psychology was that it never let him see what he actually was. Not a world historical figure, not destiny incarnate, just a man who confused his fears for facts, his hatred for strength, his emptiness for purpose. The architecture he built in his mind was perfect, seamless, complete. It was also uninhabitable, even for him. especially for him.